What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? The biggest questions of all. The questions that have dogged the greatest minds for centuries. It makes me look up to the heavens in awe at our vast, magnificent universe and wonder at the possibilities of what life is all about. Join me on a journey to understand more about who we are, why we're here, and to discover more happiness, meaning, and purpose.
Hello, and welcome to this next part of the film. You join me in this beautiful old theatre, where we shall be discussing one of the most fascinating subjects of the film, manifestation and the projected reality. Now, it was that famous metaphysicist, Shakespeare, who said, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players." Today we shall look deeper into the nature of this reality around us.
When we talked about quantum physics, one of the laws states that nothing that is observed is unaffected by the observer. What's in here affects what's out there. Objects may remain just as probability waves. They may not actually exist as solid matter until they are brought into conscious awareness.
Now I'm going to add an extra interpretation. Consider the possibility that your conditionings, i.e. what's in here, affects the particular reality that manifests out there. There are thousands of possibilities of what could happen in our lives. But what if our conditioning could influence which possibility actually arises? What if our conditionings influence the next set of people and situations that we encounter in the theatre, the grand drama that is called life? Now, the nature of the one blue consciousness is to create. And because we are individual units of consciousness, it is our nature to also create. We're all creation machines. But how exactly do we create?
We create through our conditionings. And those conditionings power our thoughts, words, and actions. We call this the projected reality. We've already said that the conditionings in the bowl are like bits of dirt that block the sunlight. If we were to pass sunlight through the dirt, it would create a pattern, which would be our projected reality.
Now let's use another analogy. Imagine the sun is like the bulb of this projector here. The bulb is the pure white consciousness that penetrates everywhere at all times. And now imagine that our conditionings are like this film reel for a projector. They contain all our conditionings. And the white light passes through the conditionings and projects our personal reality onto the screen. These are the people and situations in our lives. So our outer world is simply a projection of our inner conditionings. Now, an individual thought doesn't have much power to influence our reality, but thoughts which build in intensity, they can. The more emotional and repetitive our thoughts, the more they affect our reality. Where is the attention of our minds for long periods of time? Wherever our attention is, that will eventually manifest in our lives. You get what you focus on.
You may ask, if that's so, why don't I create what I want in my life? Why don't I only create good things in my life?
Generally, we are creating from our uncontrolled, unconscious thoughts. So that's what gets projected onto the screen. Now, each of us obviously have so many conditionings in our minds, many of which are contradictory, complex, and so what we see manifesting in our lives can also be contradictory and complex.
We aren't aware of most of our conditionings because they're unconscious. Think of the thousands of desires, resistances, beliefs and thoughts that circulate in our minds every single day. They're all influencing our reality at some level. But instead of this being an unconscious, seemingly random process, we can actively influence our life for the better, with greater levels of self-awareness and introspection. By being more aware of what is going on in our minds, especially our negativities, we have a greater influence on what happens out there. Let's complete our diagram now, explaining how the mind and people and situations interact. The circle completes, and the projected reality system works like this. The external world of people and situations impacts on our internal world of the mind and the intellect. Following the interaction, thoughts, emotions, words and actions are created. These then either reinforce or reduce our conditioning based on our self-awareness. And those conditionings then influence the next projected reality, influencing the next set of people and situations for us to face. For example, imagine a couple breaking up and the girl having her heart broken. She feels sad, but maybe she also feels rejected, that she wasn't good enough for him. And if this feeling of not being good enough repeats in her mind over and over again, then it becomes a belief conditioning. She might find that in future relationships, she unconsciously chooses partners that will end up rejecting her, and so unconsciously reinforce this same belief.
Now, why is the projected reality system set up like this? It's for us to grow and become more conscious beings. If we allow ourselves to be conditioned, then we're constantly weighed down by the past. We can't move forward. But with awareness, every life experience, good or bad, becomes an opportunity for us to learn more about ourselves and become happier.
This is sometimes known as the law of cause and effect. This continues as a circle, cause creating effect, and that effect becomes a new cause, and so on and so on. We are constantly meeting people and situations to help us grow beyond our conditionings, and to help us evolve.
Through self-awareness, we do have the opportunity to grow and reduce our non-conducive conditionings, those conditionings that don't help or support us in life. And of course, we want to increase our positive, conducive conditionings. As we reduce our conditionings overall, we become ready to get closer and closer to the pure white light of love that we truly are.
As we reduce our conditionings, the emotional mind is no longer so reactive. rather than reacting to situations, our intellect consciously chooses the right response to the situation. We no longer react from our past conditionings, but instead choose the right action with awareness, sometimes spontaneously. We steer our kayak in a different direction. And in time, this becomes spontaneous and natural, and we intuitively know the right thing to do because we are now guided by love, our deepest nature, rather than our old conditionings. So going back to our example, the girl who had her heart broken comes to realise that the relationship ended not because she wasn't good enough for him, but because they simply weren't right for each other. And so the negative conditioning falls away. She frees herself to choose a life partner who is right for her, who she can love and who will love her in return.
As the mind drops its conditionings and becomes more purified, the film reel becomes more and more transparent until all that's left on the screen is pure white light. The bowl is now clean, and we once again merge fully with the pure blueness. We experience ourselves as blissful, loving, and unified with the oneness. And who is the audience? The audience is the one blue consciousness of which we are a part, and from which we are never apart. The eternal witness, watching the drama unfold in the grand theatre of our lives. Now, I've certainly found that in my life, I keep facing similar challenges until I learn the lesson that life is trying to teach me, until I grow from that situation.
If we don't grow from a situation and continue to react from our conditionings, then we get stuck in the cycle of action and reaction. Just like the girl who keeps finding unsuitable partners, we too keep meeting the same problems again and again in life. In fact, it can sometimes feel like we're going around in circles, literally. This is because of the law of cause and effect. But sometimes life has to present us with seemingly intolerable difficulties before we feel compelled to break these negative patterns and change.
Conditionings impact all areas of our lives: work, relationships, health and wealth. But there are three particular situations where these conditionings really play themselves out.
One is family relationships. The second is romantic relationships. And the third is relationships at work. In each one of these relationships, your deepest desires, resistances, and limiting beliefs will be exposed so you can play them out on the stage in the grand theatre of life. For example, a popular idea in psychology is that we may well find that issues that we've had with our parents may also be recreated in our romantic relationships. If our parents made us feel unloved in some way, even subconsciously, then our conditionings may well attract partners who also temporarily make us feel the same way. This is our opportunity to stay aware and centered and allow the conditioning to play out and to release the past.
But rather than blaming others, which gets us nowhere, we can instead see that the people around us are messengers. They are here to help us overcome our negative conditionings. It has been said, we've been sent nothing but angels.
Even those we dislike, who cause us sorrow and pain, are just actors on a stage, reading from scripts that we have helped to write. Sure, if we unconsciously let the play proceed, there will be some good moments and some bad moments, some pleasurable moments and some painful moments. But ultimately, we're being taken care of.
But even in the midst of deep emotional pain, can we take the helicopter view? Can we realise that all of this is just a play, a drama in the grand theatre of our lives? That even that pain is an opportunity to reflect and overcome some of our negative conditionings. And if we can do that, then we can become happier and we can get closer and closer to the blueness that we truly are. Now, there are some conditionings that are deeply hidden from us. They're in our blind spots. Other people can see them, but we can't see them. We don't want to face up to them. We don't want to deal with them. This is often called our shadow, and it takes bravery and self-awareness, sometimes even the help of a friend or a mentor, to lay our souls bare and bring our deepest, darkest secrets to the light of scrutiny. Now, apart from self-awareness, how else can we find our shadow patterns?
Well, people around us can be our mirrors. They reflect back to us what we can't see in ourselves. And sometimes the faults that we judge in other people are often the conditionings that we have inside ourselves that we're unaware of, our blind spots. Sometimes other people may mirror a different conditioning within us, sometimes the same one.
For instance, if we are bothered by someone's selfishness, could it be that there's a part of us which is selfish, which we haven't accepted or acknowledged? Or instead, could it be that we have inflated expectations of how others should behave? In either situation, every person around us is mirroring back to us to build awareness about ourselves.
This is why the message has been brought to humanity by many great teachers, such as Buddha, who said, "Your greatest enemy is your greatest teacher." And Jesus Christ, who said, "Love your enemies."
Sometimes it can feel like we are fighting others, but in fact we are shadow boxing, boxing our own shadow, fighting something inside us to which we are blinded. But we must accept our shadow, accept that it exists, and face it through awareness, through forgiveness and love, learning to let it go. Now, there's so much more to say on this, but for the next film.
Our unconscious conditionings influence the next set of people and situations we will meet in life. The projected reality system is set up for our growth. Once we realise this, we can see each person and situation as an opportunity for our growth, no matter how bad it feels. Increased self-awareness can help us not to react from our past conditionings. We all have our blind spots or shadows, habits of thinking, feeling and behaving that we're not aware of. Other people are a mirror for us to become more aware of these conditionings. Self-awareness with love and compassion for ourselves helps us to move through the cycle of action and reaction with grace. In the next video, we'll look at each of the 4 conditionings and how they manifest a projected reality into our lives.